Look at that. I hear
Oh my
sirens.
God.
Hopefully, I don't know. They're not from here, the sirens. I don't know where they're from. San Francisco, I presume.
They
They're
don't come in LA. So.
San Franciscan sirens.
Rick McElroy. Been a
Hopefully
while.
you're not the cause of those sirens, Rick.
Well, no, but it makes it fun for sleeping down, I'll tell you
that. So you are in San Francisco amongst all of our friends, you included. It's been way too long, Rick. I mean, I don't know if it was RSA or maybe Black Hat a couple of years ago. It had to be RSA.
No. I tell you, I remember we saw him in Paris, but it was not Paris. It was Paris in Las Vegas.
That's right.
Late at night, hacker camp, summer camp.
The bubble
Scott was with you. I remember exactly how we hang out there. So it seems yesterday, but it's not yesterday.
No, and then I have a weird sense of time over the last 2-3 years. That's what I figured out.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one. But you know what? We're not together, but it's so great to see you. It's great to see you, man.
It's super great to see you guys. Yeah, it's been too long since I reached out, and things have been weird and busy, so it's fine. But here we are.
Yeah, it all goes back and forth, and we have stayed connected, Rick. It's been fun chatting with you on Signal about stuff you've been working on. And I mean, I have to say, I mean, you were an inspiration, not enough, because I actually never did it. I started it, but never actually got quite to growing a farm of vegetables. But I bought all the seeds.
Yeah. I'm trying to do it organically is very, very, very difficult. So I appreciate organic farmers a whole lot better now. Absolutely. It's tough. I lost a whole lot of things to worms last season. So yeah.
See, mine would be I'll be prone to becoming deer fodder. So I have to prepare, and rabbits. I have a lot of rabbits and deer in the place I was going to do the farming, and the whole canyon is septic, not sewer. So there's that whole thing to deal with too. You want to grow anti-organic, or maybe it's really organic, growing food on top of septic waste, but. I know that sounds gross. Let's not.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. So I'm very happy that you're doing that live streaming.
That's right. People are probably like, "What the heck is Sean on about?"
That's okay.
Growing organic food on top of septic waste. It's not.
They know, the audience know that we don't script anything, and and this is really about catching up with friends. So friends that, as you mentioned, Sean, they are at the RSA conference. And so Rick, how is to be back? And it's really back. Is it different?
Yeah. Like we just went right back to the way we were doing things before the pandemic, surprisingly. Yeah. No, I think it's good. I will tell you too, boy, as much as you try to stay on top of this industry, and I'm lucky I get to see lots of things and talk to lots of people. It is so hard to get a grasp of just the number of things, right? And the number of people and companies and so I know for me it's been super awesome seeing people and catching back up. But I think as well, like learning what a lot of people have been up to the last 2 years, because there's been a lot of people heads down working. So yeah.
Yeah, and I won't make you comment on it, but I will make the comment, because since we saw you last, you've been part of 2 acquisitions, and we were on with Chris Pearson earlier talking about the number of acquisitions where products are getting bought up, and features of product getting bought up to become bigger parts of a bigger solution to the problem. And so I don't know, maybe not comment on your specific situation, but just your general feel. What's it like from the vendor perspective out there? Are things becoming easier for CISOs and security practitioners to make choices? To help?
That's a good question. Have we made it easier to make choices? Yeah, look, I think areas that I see massive and huge value in, right? So a lot of the managed detection firms that are out there, they are providing huge benefit to their customers. I think certainly the practice around advisory services, virtual CISO, call it whatever you want, there's a lot of folks providing their organizations some good value. So I think from that perspective, organizations are listening, but I don't know fundamentally that picking a left or right at the fork in the road has become easier. I think certainly testing's better. That's another area that I think, like things like MITRE ATT&CK, ingenuity testing, where we're actually doing adversary emulation environments, so you can tell whether the vendors are doing what they're supposed to. I think those are all positives, but I also think I said this to someone last night. I can't actually think of another vertical that would sustain this many organizations and companies. And what I hear from the CISOs I hang out with is it's the rate of change and the rate of innovation is so fast, both on the offensive and defensive side, that that's the challenge, is everyone trying to keep up on that, right? But yeah, I think there's room for consolidation. Certainly, I think what I think would like to see more of. I think it's a better approach to the reasons why. That being clearly, things like that, where I think people get hung up on some of them. But yeah, there's been one this week where I was like, that makes sense. I totally see how that fits. And then one, I think other people, are talking about with an incident response firm that people are still kind of questioning. So.
And so what, I presume you're spending a decent amount of time on the show floor, and you're frozen again. So I'll may have to repeat the question. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but let's see if you come back.
Ask me.
Ask you. Marco.
Yes.
What was it like?
That was great. Had a great time. Nice to see all the people again, and can't wait to do it again. For real.
Perfect.
Well, while we wait for Rick, so far the conversation we had this morning and yesterday from people that are participating there, I get a couple of things that are constant, the constant in the conversation. One is this excitement to be back. And I know me and you, we've always talked about, we stay in touch with people, right? I mean, thank God for technology. Thank God for the job that we do, which allow us to do it remotely. But I mean, really, I'm getting some goosebump in thinking, the last time we saw Rick, the last time we were at DEF CON, the last time we were at RSA conference, with all the craziness that goes around with it. But I'm kind of missing it.
Yeah, and technology, staying connected. There he is.
I'm on a plan. So you haven't seen this since the AOL days. It's great.
AOL.
It doesn't weird noise. You have that DSL modem.
The weird noise. The noise we all used to love. We all used to love that so much.
Yes. No, so thanks for getting back on, Rick. And so my question was, I presume you spent a lot of time on the show floor, but I'm interested, and perhaps there's some interesting conversations there, but I'm more interested in what you're hearing outside of the show floor. So don't disclose anything proprietary that you may have had conversations in Chatham House rules environments, but CISOs, security leaders, AppSec folks, what's top of mind for them at the
moment? People, retaining, finding talent, and then we're all burning ourselves out. So I know we have a lot of IR partners. I have a lot of friends in that community and space, and I've had friends that have honestly had hospitalizations due to seizures from working too hard. So I think we care greatly still, and I think some of us to the detriment of our mental and physical health, and so it's still a topic that a lot of us are talking about. Turnover, I think it's been huge. I know pay scales have increased both on the U.S. government side. Microsoft just announced another huge increase, which causes everybody, to do that or go look for jobs. And I even think the front end pipeline to get good folks in is still broke. So a lot of the CISO meetups that I'm doing down in San Diego and Orange County have really just been around that particular issue, and it's a big one.
Yeah, we were just on with Chloe Mistagi who you know, and that's a big part of the work that she does for the community, mental health and equality and diversity, which is all together. And I remember, I think it was RSA a couple of years back, you and Gary Hayslip, there was a whole day dedicated to this topic, right? I think the theme was even human element, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if you still connect with Gary on
Oh
this.
yeah, I just had lunch with him right before.
All right, look at that. So, have we made progress since that talk you gave that day? I can still picture the picture that we have with
Yeah.
you and Gary and crew. But
Yeah, I would say
how are
based on the
things?
latest 2 surveys that got released over the last 2 weeks, no. In fact, what they really highlight is you sort of have this phenomenon at the new end. A lot of folks that get to year 5 and are really questioning whether they want to continue this career, or do what it takes to pivot into management or a senior role or whatever that case may be. And then I think at the senior end, you have a whole lot of people looking to pull the ripcord.
And Rick pulled the ripcord. Right at that moment.
Wow, so
Yeah.
it's having some hard time, that carrying this conversation while you're getting disconnected. So let's see. Hopefully, it's gonna come back.
I
Right
suspect
there.
he'll bounce and jump back on.
Probably.
But it's interesting, Mark. I mean, I think.
There is.
Oh, there he is. Yep. Everybody.
Yeah. So
The
just to finish
leaders
the
are
thought
pulling
on
the
senior
ripcord.
people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or not.
40 years deep that are like, hey, this isn't ending. I think there are some indications that there's more money being spent on the problem, but yeah, fundamentally, we still got, John Miller said it famously on Monday on the big stage. He's like, someone said we fixed a number of problems in the industry, and he goes, have we really, been able to lick passwords as an example, right? Like, no. Credential harvesting and passwords are still one of the main methods. So yeah, so I think just a lot of folks getting tired and had a lot of reflection time over the pandemic.
So I have a question for you, because you said like a lot of people are rethinking maybe the role in the industry. Don't we all think that the industry where we're in is the one with the problem, and the grass is always greener somewhere else? Like, I'm reading a book about the Pixar story, and there is a lot of conversation by Ed Catmull, the CEO, about the importance of people in the company and how it's a cultural thing. And I feel like you can read another book and you talk about another industry, and each one has its own set of problems. So is there really just an InfoSec problem?
It's interesting. I mean, certainly, like, first respond. Like, if you go look at, first responders and then those jobs, albeit, human lives are involved in a lot of cases. I think stressors and continual stress, have a tendency to exist in those too. But it's something I reflect about a lot too, right? Like, I have a brother-in-law who's a doctor. He's a pediatrician, right? He doesn't have to go to as many CPE courses as we do in a year or, hey, what are the adversaries doing? And so it's, I think it's a brain sustainability issue in the end. And, I'm certainly not a smart enough person on that side, but I do know, I think the continually feeling like we're making incremental progress is, I think, part of the zeitgeist in cybersecurity. And so what I try to do is point to the positive things that have happened, because there are things that are way better, right? I happen to think personally, the interaction amongst, the U.S. government, CISA specifically, Jen Easterly and her team, being on phone calls with the security manager of some small, trying to give them the ammo they need to walk into their executives to get them to actually move in coordination in a way that helps them protect that infrastructure. I think those are great. I think, look, a lot of this old school mentality among security companies, fighting with each other, paying attention and treating each other like the adversary, not the adversaries themselves. Certainly we all know who they are, but I don't think that's the vast majority of organizations today. I also think threat intelligence sharing is going to go through a little bit of a disruption, I think, to hit some of the scale we need to do from a national security perspective, and reporting, whether you were ransomed or breached, and hitting those windows. And then look, I'll clearly say it: the tooling before the year 2000 was inadequate, terrible, and we didn't even have a lot of the. So now I look at it and I say, well, let's just take 2007 and on. An inordinate amount of innovation has occurred on the defensive side of the house. Have we kludged it all together yet? No. Does it work in concert together? No. But that's where we're starting to get to, right? And so when you sit down and talk to the people working on the future, looking at things like machine abstracted language for threat intel so that a defensive product can ingest that and make a prevention or detection check. Great. Like, we're getting there, right? So I do point to those positives. And if you look at what this community has done to educate new people coming in, it's something we should all be really proud of. Because when I started, it wasn't like that. If you asked the question, you did not get the nice response, or So I have a lot of mentorees, a lot of folks switching careers that want to come into cyber, and it's so easy to point them to all of this open source library of education. That's wonderful. And so those are things.
Those are things.
Well, those are things that make sense, though, because I could turn this question to you as we wait for Rick to get back on the technology line. Is you've seen this industry. We were going to talk about this on a talk at RSA conference about what we have learned, and you've been in this industry for a long time. And I think, do you agree with what Rick was saying? And then you can turn it back to him, all right?
Yeah, I think, it's easy to focus on the tools. And I think every conversation we've had from this year's RSA conference, even though human element was a theme a couple of years ago, it's still very relevant in this one. And I probably even more, I don't know, impactful as a point this year, as it's the one where people are actually in person again together. And
yeah, but my point is to connect with Rick. If you look at before the year 2000, as he was saying, if we want to look at the good thing instead of the bad thing, how many positive things have been happening since in the industry?
Yeah, definitely a lot of progress, a lot of movement. And yeah, I don't know, I this is where I wish I was there to kind of get my own perspective for what's going on. And that's why I'm grateful for those who are there to share their thoughts. I think for me, it always goes back to what is success? Are we defining it properly? Are we measuring it properly? Are we communicating that properly? And unfortunately, I think just as we see hundreds of vendors on the show floor, we have hundreds of definitions of what that means, what success is. And I'd actually, you mentioned Jen Easterly, Rick. She's going to be joining Alyssa Miller live today.
That should be fantastic.
Yeah, 6:30 Eastern here on ITSP Magazine, Alyssa's show, Securing Bridges. And I'm not certain exactly what Alyssa's going to talk about, but I think that there's a huge role for the public sector to get involved and to help. So
and I think
critical infrastructure, but I think it goes beyond that.
Yeah, and I think to increase transparency and trust, which if we're going to do something then make this work, we're going to have to address that. And so I do point to, because Chris was fantastic before her as well, but Jen's been really amazing. I think doing as much as she can transparently, and given the role, that's not always an easy thing. But yeah, we have to increase the amount of. It's been a lot of broken trust, I think, from various agencies and all of that, right? And I think we all see the world the way it is today, right? And so I've been super impressed with, the JCDC is driving, change for organizations. Things that are running around on day zero, patches are being released within 48 to 72 hours. Right, like we're hitting those numbers now as an industry, and we would have never got there without folks like CISA, DHS, and frankly, Google Project Zero has been a huge part of pushing the industry towards actually getting patches out faster, right? So yeah, those are and the other thing too, Sean, is like we can't advertise all the wins, and they happen every day, I can assure you, but they can't.
Yeah, and I know. So what Rick's alluding to is that, well, obviously we can't talk about every breach, and I think that's where he was going to go with this, and I don't know if that may be something that we need to look at. I know there's some reporting regulations coming out, and yeah, I think there's a lot to do, because I think we need to have the stories, right? So Rick, I don't know if where you're headed with this is we can't share all the wins. Is that because we don't have the time to, or they're just not big enough, or we're afraid to?
Mostly lawyers.
So we're afraid to.
I mean, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah, that's where I thought you were going to go.
If you get compromised, yeah.
Because there's some regulations coming that maybe not. I don't know if you have to do it publicly, but certainly you have to share with the government that a breach occurred, and details of that. So presumably they can use that to help, to your point earlier, with the threat intelligence, to help others prepare for a similar attack, but then to also help that organization recover and take care of their customers or whoever was impacted because of the breach as well. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much to unpack here, and Rick, it's great to catch up with you from RSA conference there this week, and perhaps maybe a final thought from you folks who are still there. Is there something folks should look at or get involved with in the last couple of days that they have there?
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess my final thought will be this. It's real easy to be a pessimist in security. Like, that's the easiest thing ever. And I've certainly, I think, fallen into that trap a number of times. But it's definitely not good for your mental state. It's so remain positive, remain optimistic. Things are moving, I think, in the correct direction. They're not moving as fast as I want to either. And then have more fun doing this job. I think it's a very serious job. We're responsible for lots of things, but I think if part of your plan leading your team is to have some fun along the journey and to laugh a lot and build a family around that problem while they're there, however long you have that group, I just think you'll find that mentally it'll be easier to deal with any curveball that comes your way, and there'll always be a curveball, and there'll probably be 5 today, right? So, yeah, just have a lot more fun and laugh more.
All about the experience.
These are great suggestions independently from where you are, what industry you're in, and a great life advice that I know that it comes from somebody with a big heart, and I'm honored to always have you, to call you a friend, and you jump in on an opportunity to have a chat with us anytime. So
I love you guys. Anytime. Next time, I promise it'll be on my Wi-Fi and it doesn't go down. So
next time maybe we can do it in person too. That would be even better. Yeah, and with this, we thank you. Have whatever else you have planned there, and we hope you enjoy it. And this is our last streaming for the back-to-back, Sean, but we should invite people to stay on with what we just mentioned with Rick, and how Lisa Miller with Securing Bridges is going to have I know it's going to be an amazing conversation with Jen Esterly. Sean, what do you expect from this?
Well, I mean, Alyssa's show is all about securing bridges. So it's about connecting IT security and info security and cybersecurity to the business, not as a blocker, but as an enabler. And she touches a lot on some of the things I look at on redefining cybersecurity, which is how do you operationalize? How do you take the tools, and if you're lucky enough to have processes and workflows, and bring that in along with the information together to actually run a successful program. And it's not just about cybersecurity. It's about the business, and it's the people making that happen. And so I'm thrilled to see how Jen Easterly approaches this. Obviously, there's a lot of work she's doing from public sector perspective, but it touches every part of the ecosystem. So,
and that will be 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern time. So it's an hour and 20 minutes from now. And I'm going to grab some popcorn because I'm really going to love that. Yes. Rick, thank you again. I don't know if you're frozen or not, but thank you. It was a pleasure hanging out with you. I think, Sean, we can call this off.
Yep. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Rick, we'll catch you later. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.